Hey guys, Chris and Chad from Electrified Garage. Today we're going to be installing some KW Variant 3 coilovers on my long range Model 3. The reason why we're doing this is because I put lowering springs on about a year ago and the stock struts and shocks are starting to wear out and the ride is getting kind of bouncy. I also wasn't really happy with the ride height, and with these we can adjust both the dampening and the rebound so it can be either really firm, soft, or somewhere in between, or we can adjust the ride height to get the proper fender gap between the tire and the top of the fender. These are all made in Germany. They're made of stainless steel, so they're not going to rust or corrode. It's a big issue up here in New England, especially driving around in the wintertime. And that's pretty much it.
Today we're going to show you how to do a coilover suspension kit. It's a lot different in a Tesla than it is in your average car. Your average car uses a McPherson strut, which bolts to the knuckle. In this kit, you don't have to take the brakes apart and all that stuff. It's a lot simpler. You just pull the wheels. We're going to start with the front. Take the front tub out, do the front struts, and then we'll move to the back. Let's get to it. Now that we get our wheels off, we're going to lower the vehicle and take the front tub out. Now we got the bolts removed, now we're going to pull the tub. Next we have to remove these side covers, both sides, and the clips that hold part of this rain deflector array. So now that we have all the covers removed, there's 4 bolts that hold the whole strut and upper control arm assembly in. There's one here, 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 and here. We're not going to take these out just yet. We're going to remove all the suspension components and leave this last. But now that it's exposed, it makes it a lot easier when it's up in the air to take those out. So this is our suspension setup in the front. You get your knuckle, your upper control arm, your lower control arm, your sway bar link, and your strut assembly. If you notice, the coil springs are actually sitting on top of each other. The spring is actually a little on the weak side. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this. And the other reason is because the shock itself is worn as well. It's not meant to travel at such a low range for a long period of time like that. So we're going to do the full setup. Next, what we're going to do is take off the ABS sensor wire off of the components so it's not getting pulled on. Then we're going to remove our brake line from the knuckle so we have slack to move this out. Next we're going to take off the upper portion of the sway bar link. Now that we've got the sway bar link off, we'll remove the lower shock bolt and take it off the control arm. Next we're going to remove the upper ball joint from the knuckle. The 4 bolts that are up top hold this aluminum subframe piece up with this upper control arm and the strut. There are 3 holes in the top. They're right above the strut. You can get at those, but you'll never be able to get a socket in there unless you grind down the socket and try to get the fit. And even then, trying to get the nut out of that hole is a big challenge and a waste of time. It's a lot easier and faster just to pull this whole assembly out with the strut, take it apart on the bench, and put it back together on the bench and put it in as the whole assembly. So there's 2 different head sizes. There's a 15 and a 13. I'm going to do the 15 first. Let this out without hitting the fender. Next what we're going to do is remove the strut assembly from the upper bracket. So there's 3 bolts. We're going to take the bracket off. And to compress the spring in the vise with a special spring compressor. Next what we're going to do is take the nut off after the strut has been compressed. Don't take it off before it's compressed. The coilover kit comes with everything else you need. The only thing we really need from this other strut is this assembly. Next, here's our replacement unit. Has everything you need. We still need the hat from this one. We don't need the boot. And we don't need the rubber insulator. So we'll go over the hat like that. We're going to change out our shoes to the new coil diameter. So before putting this together, we're going to set the perch offset from the bottom of this lip right here up to the bottom of the adjusting nut. We need 135 millimeters. Down. And then we're going to tighten the set screw so it doesn't move. You want to do this before you put it in the car. You may have to adjust afterwards the proper ride height, vehicle dependent. Next we're going to put the hat back onto the strut. Thing to note is you don't want to over torque the stem. There's an adjuster in here for the damping and rebound control. And if you over torque this, it will break because it's hollow. So what you need to do is check your torque spec. I believe this one is 15 foot-pounds, and that's what we're going to do. And then install your GM nut. Now that we got our strut assembled, we just got to put the upper control arm component on it and put it back in the vehicle. And torque to manufacturer specifications. Now that we got our strut assembly in here, we're going to lower it down, put the 4 bolts in the top because you have to lift this up in order to get the thread started. And if you bolted it to the lower control arm, you'd have to lift the whole knuckle up to do that. It's a lot easier to do it just by one-handed and lift the strut up. And you want to torque those to spec. Next we're going to install the lower control arm bolt. Now you want to tighten this at ride height, not up in the air like this with the suspension dangling. So you probably when you do the alignment is when you're going to tighten this. If you're going to take it to an alignment shop, I would suggest tightening it first and then have them retorque it at ride height. Okay, next we're going to attach our upper ball joint. Our brake line. Next we're going to reattach our ABS wheel speed sensor. We're going to install our sway bar link. do is push this down and get it in there. You may have to use a pry bar and get it in the frame. As you get everything back in the car, you want to do is torque everything to spec. Don't forget to torque your lower control arm at ride height. And then once this is all completed, do the other side exactly like we did, and then move to the back. Here we are on the back side of the car. Now what we're going to do is take down the belly pan. We're going to take out the lower covers on the lower control arms, and then we're going to take out the control arm bolts for the shock, and then the knuckle itself. And lower down the control arm, take out the spring, and then we'll take out the shock. Next what we're going to do is support the lower control arm because you're going to have the spring under tension. So we use a post, or if you're doing this on the ground, the floor jack will work. Next we're going to take out the two control arm bolts. Lower down, easy. Now the tension's removed. This is easy to pull off. We're going to take out the shock first, so we have the clearance to take the spring out. Now that the shock is out, we're going to take the spring out. Just like that. We're going to keep the pad because we need the pad for the new set of coils. Next we're going to take our coil spring adapter and you set this at 30 millimeters. You want to do this before you put it in because you have to turn it quite a bit. And then you're going to take this Allen and tighten up the set screw to make sure it doesn't move once it's together. Now it's ready for install. You do is you reuse the rubber isolator, like so. And then it goes on your adapter to the top, and that goes to the body. And you're going to slip this in. You want to throw some glass cleaner or something on there to make this slide in a little easier, and these have to go through the holes. Take the old shock and remove the rubber boot. We're going to take the nut out because we need this. So we don't need the boot on this, so we just need the hat. I'm going to transfer over to the new unit. Keep in mind you want to keep your adjuster facing outward so you can read it. This needs to go on like that. And you want to torque this to spec. Next you want to torque the nuts on top of this. Torque the first primary nut, 15 foot-pounds. And the jam nut. Now install to the vehicle. Before pushing this all the way up, make sure you have the little rubber guides coming through the holes. This one will come through as the control arm gets pressed up. As you can see, it's poking through. Again, you want to torque these at right height. Once this is all completed, do the other side.
Thanks guys for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed learning about how to install coilovers on your Model 3. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and look in the description below for more instructions and information on the install. Okay.
Guys, we're supposed to be. This is professionals, guys. Professionals. You're professionals, right?
No.
Not at all.
Not in the least.
Can you imagine this being an actual TV show?
Stop.
Stop. They're sensitive, damn it. Your bald head screwed me up. Okay. Okay. I can't do it.